Controversial bill at the state Senate has ABC 15 viewers like you talking. If you missed our 10 o'clock news last night, Christopher Sine did a story on the bill which would make it a crime to terrify, intimidate, or annoy someone while using an electronic device. That would include forums like Facebook and Twitter. Those supporting the bill say the measure fights online stalking and bullying. Critics call the bill internet censorship. What are your thoughts?
Joining us to discuss this topic and a whole lot more, today's guest, Amanda Vega. She runs her own PR firm, and she's built one of the Valley's biggest followings on Twitter. So this, of course, impacting you. A lot of folks saying, hey, this is a violation of my free speech.
Absolutely. The first thing we have to say is, as uncomfortable as it is that free speech is not absolute. We think of cyberbullying as more of an activity than a speech, and unfortunately, because this disease, is what we like to call it, is growing so rapidly, unfortunately, at times you have to maybe alleviate some of your rights in order to make, stricter rules that may help alleviate some of the problems that we're having.
Yeah, I commend them trying to put an end to online bullying and stalking. That is very important. But again, you cannot infringe on the First Amendment. And I think by saying you can't annoy someone, that term is way too broad and too subjective. Who's to say what's annoying? Right. I've seen plenty of annoying comments on Facebook that would come nowhere near criminal activity.
Sure. And I think right now that there is some talk about reviewing the legislation to really define and narrow what that is so that it can be more defined as falling in line with things like hate crimes, threats, things like that. I think you're right. It is too broad-based right now as a piece of legislation, and hopefully they will sort of narrow it, because unfortunately we have to really start making tougher standards.
Yeah, it's a pretty short bill, just 3 pages long, and there's at least one group, and that is Media Coalition, who is trying to get Governor Brewer to veto this, saying, you know what, we don't need this. It's a violation of our First Amendment rights. Here's what you guys are saying on Facebook. Carol Ann Quinn says, bullying is wrong, but this law was written, but this law as written goes too far and limits freedom of speech. You can be prosecuted for saying anything on social networking sites that anyone finds offensive.
Sandra Ariza says, I would support it. There's too many people that feel they can say whatever they want over the internet with no concern or regard for the person they're saying it to.
Robert Ontiveros says, I think the government is getting too deep into our social lives. I mean, if someone is going to be like that on Facebook, I can block them.
Absolutely. And Jessica Leva says, trying to stop bullying, good. Policing people's comments, not.
Yeah, so it will be a fine tooth. Of course, Chris Sine will continue to follow this. We'll bring you updates throughout the day.
Well, still to come.